let's start at probably what could be, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about this, maybe the least controversial choice. And what I'm hoping to do is give me some thoughts based on all your experience, and then maybe throw out a letter grade, A to F,
Sure.
just like we're back in
Happy to do
school,
it.
and let us know what you're thinking. So we're starting with Secretary of State, Marco Rubio.
No, I was on the transition team in 2016, so I've had some experience making judgments on folks. And having been through and seen this, I think the president, as you said, has a right to do this. So let's go to Marco Rubio. I've met Marco Rubio. I've met the senator. I've met him there in the green room at Fox, where you've been before. And I think he's someone who understands national security. He's got a very even temperament. I think as long as he's willing to do what the president wants done, and he's said this publicly, I think he has the potential to be an A- Secretary of State. And I'm saying that because he's not a new guy. And from what I'm hearing, Mike, they're having crying sessions at the State Department about Marco Rubio coming over. So that's a good sign. Let's hope they don't resort to having Kool-Aid drinking sessions like they did at Jonestown. That would be bad. But I think it's a good sign that they're freaking out over there.
Crying sessions at the Department of State.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, that reminds me of universities providing wellness days, health days off for students after the election results came in following the last Tuesday's election. Okay, those are university students. They still don't need to be coddled, right? They shouldn't have to be coddled.
No.
But now we're talking about grown adults at the Department of State. So it is somewhat striking. Yeah, I tend to agree with you on Rubio. I think, again, very non-controversial. I think he's going to get fine bipartisan support. Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Senate Intel Committee.
Yep.
I think that he's almost a lock. And I tend to agree with you. I think he's very even keeled, and so I think you're A-. I'm right alongside you with that one. Okay, well, we're talking foreign policy, so let's go to UN Ambassador Elise Stefanik, New York Congresswoman.
So a good choice. She's shown courage, and first off, as you know, she called out publicly the chancellors of Yale, of NYU, of Pennsylvania. She was fearless in going after these people. And I think, Mike, she got rid of most of them. I think they all ended up leaving in some form based on her being dogged. So I think by the fact that the president chose her based on her performance, based on the fact that she can be publicly, I don't want to say in your face necessarily, but she can be very demonstrative in what she wants to get out of people. I think her going to the UN is going to be a good thing. I was hoping that that you would have someone who's going to be able to not only fight the UN, but be able to go in there and do things necessary to also build some level of cooperation. So you got to do both. I think there are people in the UN who are willing to work with us. And I think she's got to have, and I think she's got that skill. I think she can go hard when she has to. At the same time, I think she's going to earn respect of others to build bridges and make things work. So I think, again, I'm going to go with an A- with her too, based on the fact that, we don't know how she's going to perform at the international level, but she's done a fabulous job at the national level so far regarding what she's had to do. So,
well, I wish I had you as a professor. Right? I mean, I came out of university with an abysmal GPA, but I didn't have anybody lobbing grades like this at me. I think here's for what it's worth, and this is my 2 cents, which nowadays is worth about 3/4 of a penny. I think that it's one thing to take on the dean or the head of Columbia University, right, or an Ivy League university president. It's another thing to sit in the UN and go back and forth with the UN representatives from the Chinese regime. or
No doubt.
the Russian regime. So I think, you know, the jury's out on that one for me. I was a little surprised. I get what you're saying. And I guess top line also, we have to, and we'll look at this after we go through this list, but there's this question that says, okay, I understand if you've got a mandate, which the election certainly shows that he does,
Right.
to pursue the policies that you ran on, right? So people, you have to assume, if you're logical, they voted for you because of the policies that you heard. And so, therefore,
Right.
you want people who will implement those policies. But you also want, to some degree, and this is where it gets a little tricky, because people will say, nope, you don't want independent thinkers, right? You want people who are going to say yes and, you know, keep marching. I want to have that conversation after we go through some other names.
Sure.
Homeland Security. This one surprised me. Governor Kristi Noem.
Yeah, I'm skeptical a bit on her too. So this may be where you and I may have some agreement. I like her. I don't know her. I've never met her. That's not a prerequisite for my judgment. I'm just saying that I know, you know, I've met some of these other folks we're going to be talking about. And she's not had law enforcement experience that I know of. I may be wrong on that, but I don't think she's been someone who actually has had to do anything relating to the core mission of DHS. Now, DHS, while she's got good instincts, she's a good constitutional focused governor, someone big on economics. DHS doesn't really function economically. That's not their job. So the one thing that
Right.
DHS has done, I think you and I would agree, was horrible, was this whole disinformation board they attempted about 2 years ago with Jankowicz, the Mary Poppins singing undersecretary that was going to be doing that. And
God, you know what,
skeptical.
Tony,
Yeah.
I'm sorry you brought that back up. I actually kind of, I was able to, for a while, just get that out of my memory, and now you've put it right back there, and I'm not going to thank you for that, but I see what you're saying.
Wow. At this point, I would say a B minus. A B minus is my assessment right now for her going into.
Okay. Yeah, I think, it's interesting because, right, I really value the experience that governors can bring to positions, right? I've always thought that, yeah, exactly. You're managing, right? You're actually organized. You're building something. You're developing something. You're having to cut budgets. It's a day-to-day management operation, right? And there's a lot of moving parts, obviously, in any state. So I like that fact. The DHS part I found interesting. I'm not surprised at all that she was selected for a senior role, but I was somehow, I guess, imagining that it would be as Secretary of the Interior. I mean, considering she's governor of South Dakota.
Ryan Zinke was over at Interior when he went into the last administration. I thought Ryan was a great choice for Interior. So I would have agreed with you. I think she would be better suited in some ways to probably do that.